Alrighty then, welcome back to Universe X. This is Chris, and that video that I've been putting off for the better part of a month or so, I'm actually going to deliver with, so you can stop calling me a lazy bum. And the subject of this, what I was hinting at before, was actually the founding fathers of DBS Theorycraft. That's kind of a name that at least I feel like is deserved, and I thought their wisdom just needed to kind of just be spread out over everyone and everywhere. And I guess all 252 subscribers that I currently have. And hopefully more. I'll put it on Reddit, I'll put it on Facebook, see where Spiderweb's out to. But these three players, you probably have played their decks before without even realizing it. You've probably have followed some of their theories, some of the ways they got better at the game, some of the ways they evaluate plays without even knowing it. A friend of a friend of a friend, a post, you probably have, don't lie. And they're right here, all in one place, ready to impart their knowledge on you. And I would actually like to have them introduce themselves.
Go, Pat.
Whoever would like to go first.
Okay, I was waiting for Matt because he's the showstopper, but
no, Pat. I'm waiting for you to give your typical speech.
For those of you guys who don't know, my name is Pat O'Neill. Played DBS since the beginning. Before that, I was a Naruto Shippuden player, which was Bandai's previous game, and I was a designer and tester at one point for that game. So, as far as decks you may remember me from, Zamafu from set 3. I'm trying to think, so like Veku Ramp with Frisco more recently. And then I know Eggman as the performance recently with that, but really digging Chilai lately, so. And with that, I'll just ship it off to Zap.
To Zap. What about the part where you talk about yourself and not your gaming background?
Oh,
I want to know Pat the man, not just Tsukiyomi. I can't say it, sorry.
So you're talking about where I started. So I've been playing card games since probably, I don't know, maybe I was like 13 or 14. Picked up, first card game I had ever played was Magic during Urza's Saga block, which is, you know, anything that's a really broken block. Got out of it, picked up Pokemon. That's when I really fell in love with like playing card games and wanting to get really good at them. Was terrible at Pokemon, was terrible at Yu-Gi-Oh, and then just transitioned to Naruto, you know, and then obviously then Dragon Ball. And then aside from that, I've dabbled in competitive Smash. I have played since 64. Used to practice with a lot of the people that trained Mewtwo or trained with Mewtwo King when he was younger. And then, you know, in Brawl and other things, I met people like D1, Nairo and his brother, Adamus, Pierce 70, Umbra, all these other people. So, well connected in that community. Never really wanted to play it competitively, but those are basically the two main competitive aspects of where I come from when I think of things competitively. Either competitive Smash or competitive children's card games, specifically Bandai ones.
So you now know everything about you.
Yes.
Took it way back. But we like that.
Yeah.
History, seasoning of life.
So my name is Richard Zapp. In February 22nd, 1991, I was born in Butler, Pennsylvania.
Turned on the way machine. Okay. They wanted me to go back. He went all the way.
Yeah.
The one-uppers.
Yeah, I've been playing card games since April 2005. And that started with a 3-year stint of Yu-Gi-Oh! I had good casual success there. Topped my first regional, that was pretty gnarly. Took a break for like 4 or 5 years. Got into Kaijudo when it came out. That game was really fun. I had a pretty hot streak there where I went third, ninth in 4 consecutive regionals. So didn't get an invite. Had the best ranking. Didn't go to nationals. Teardrops. Quit cards. Said I wasn't playing it again. Dragon Ball Super came out. It looked like Kaijudo, but it was faster. So I'm like, alright, let's play some nerd games. And that brought me to where I am. I have had decent amount of success in the game. I pride myself in being a pretty open thinker, and I've had a lot of success with some innovative archetypes, and lately I've been focusing my efforts on some of the back-end stuff with 3XG Productions and helping Matt and friends help some of the most motivated people that want to improve in this game do so. And that's been where I'm at.
Excellent.
That's it.
Yeah.
Man's app and patch so beautiful people. Well, I guess it's my turn. My name is the Matthew J. Combs. Was born August 17th, 1992. One David and Deborah Combs.
It's looking bad now.
Shout outs to Madre and Padre Coombs.
I did not begin playing actual card games until I was about 12, 13 years old. I played the original score, Dragon Ball Z TCG, and got my behind handed to me week after week because I was a filthy casual. Once that game died, I did not play card games for almost, actually over an entire decade when the game came back to life for Panini. That is actually when I grew this competitive card game streak and developed all this theory knowledge. Was playing that game, and then that's also when I started playing Magic around the same time. Once that game died, after my incredible stint of being the most consistent player in the 2016 season with a Worlds invite based off of true merit, sportsmanship, and consistent performances, arguably the best player in the game at the time, second ranked in the world. The game ended. I then was like, all right, my life has fallen apart due to some personal circumstances. My card games ended. I'm done with it. But then Bandai introduced the Dragon Ball Super card game, and I was not going to play it until Thomas Ingle opened up a box at Gen Con, and he sold a ton of cards for a ton of money, and I was like, well, I might as well play this game because the cards are super cheap and you can sell them for a lot. And then I started doing content production, as you guys know. 3XG Productions was originally Get Good Gaming, which was originally Next Level Z from the last game that I played. And then I fell in love with the ability to have a platform and speak about my ideas freely and then get people hyped and into the game. And really, I just like it. I like taking complex things and explaining them to a level that anyone can understand. And that is what has led me here with 3XG Productions and the Patreon and everything that's come along with it. So.
It's funny you say that because I'm really good at explaining basic things as complex as possible.
I know, Pat. That's why
we work so well. Yeah.
Exactly. That's why we work so well together. And I am very honored and privileged to be on this YouTube video with Chris. I met Chris at we played at Richmond, and I was that a-hole who wanted the most in main deck Android 16 in my Soul Striker deck.
It was a pretty cool experience. It was my first actual tournament that wasn't a local for Dragon Ball Super, and I rolled in with this really ugly, janky, yellow, blue, red. It was like yellow, red with splash blue for Sensu, Mecha Frieza, and I would just put beaters on the board, like BCC Gohan and Jiraiyan's, and I just kind of amassed advantage. If you couldn't get rid of my board, I just had a huge hand and a bunch of swings. And then here comes this dude with main deck Android 16, and nothing in my main board dealt with it. So game one, I just got scraped up, and then him being a superior player and way more versed in the format, he just handled me game two. I got dusted. It just immediate clappage, and then
does anybody else
just went Hawkeye, and that was it? Okay.
Does anybody else remember looking at Jiren and being like, wow, this card is going to be competitive for the entire history of the game. I need to get 8 copies.
I mean, it was busted when it came out.
I mean, it was really good, but there's only been one card where I looked at it at the start of the game and was just like, wow, this card's really broken. It is going to be format defining forever, and that's Cold Bloodlust.
I thought the worst thing hit, but I'll take that.
Trickbind, Effect Veiler, Cold Bloodlust, they're good cards. Well, initially, I was just going to let them introduce themselves, but now I just feel like the chump sitting here not saying nothing. So I just want to say, you haven't heard me say my name 18,000 times before, I'm Chris Spencer, born in 1992. I've been playing card games since YMCA Summer Camp, where some dude put 3 Blue Eyes White Dragons on the board with no tributes, just destroyed me, and I was like, wow, I got to learn how to do that. And I picked up my starter decks and have been rolling ever since. Accomplishments? I don't got none. I was 9-2 at a YCS, and my mother didn't give me a ride back to day 2, so that was the end of that streak. I was 10-1 at Nationals and faced my friend in final round. So we tried to intentionally draw, got snitched on because Yu-Gi-Oh! Doesn't actually do intentional draws, and I got banned the last round of Nationals for Dino Rabbit format. If you guys remember any Yu-Gi-Oh! Stuff, that was pretty sad. And then Dragon Ball Super, I essentially just take prizes locally, and then I go to higher up tournaments and get smacked, and then that's just pretty much where I stand right now. So I just make videos and stuff. But yeah, that's my least impressive little summary. Moving on with this video, one of the things I would actually like to ask, because I know personally I have my thoughts on it and want to sour the video or make a bunch of complaining videos in between back then and now, but what are your thoughts on the meta? Because I pretty much just, it was that that little rat from, what was it? I can't remember the show on Nickelodeon where he just walks in and he sees the room, just walks out. Like, that's been me with my local
Cat dog.
past, like, cat dog, there we go, that blue rat thing. I just go on my locals and I just see like 8 Super Shenrons. And I'm like, I can't play Gohan here, and I just leave. Like, that's actually just every single time I even
Winslow! The boy Winslow!
The boy Winslow. Suspenders, overalls, whatever those are. The point is, what are your thoughts on the current meta, where it's gone? Because, I mean, everybody had thoughts when Set 6 got released, and I feel like those thoughts aren't quite the same anymore. Are we on Set 7? Set 6? We're on Set 6.
We're on 6.
6.
We're going to 7. So, how I feel is there are basically 2 decks that annoy me in the format. One, obviously, is Super Shenron. And it's not because Super Shenron is this like crazy unbeatable deck, because there definitely are decks that can beat it. It's just that you have to go way outside of your way, like to kind of answer it. So like there are ways. It's not like undisputed, unbeatable tier 0 deck. But at this point, Storm just refuses to die, and I think a lot of people in the player base are just sick of it. I know I'm slightly sick of it because it's like, man, sure would be nice to, you know, go into a format where we just don't have like yellow aggro deck that's just backed up by Battering Laser with unstoppable win con that wins before most decks can establish a strategy. Like, I think most of the player base is sick of it. There are multiple ways Bandai can answer it, whether it's printing other answers, cards like Battering in other colors, etc., etc. But at this point, like, Storm is just obnoxious and annoying, and it refuses to die. So, one aspect, I don't like that. The other deck that I do not like, and I know this is probably going to be the controversial, is I do not like Skillless Goku because it so does everything. Like, it's not inherently broken, it's just like, it's just there. It does all the things, it generates all the advantage, and every deck that you play is like, man, this is really cool, but how does it do against Skillless? So, like, I just don't think a deck should just be that generically good spread across, like, the entire format versus everything. That's just my 2 cents. As far as fixing it, like, probably Child's Wish is the card that should go. If you get rid of Child's Wish, I feel like it opens up other decks that, you know, will essentially take care of the format. The format is largely, for the most part, in my opinion, balanced outside of those 1 to like 1.5 decks that I just mentioned. It's pretty much, you know, there are like A has good matchups against these decks, but then like B just, you know, completely smacks it. So for the most part, very healthy meta outside of the obvious Super Shenron and then the deck that does it all. So.
I think the order last time was Pat, Zap, Matt, so I think we can just continue this rotation.
Mm-hmm.
We can, absolutely. In large, the game is in a pretty good place. I think Pat said it well when he noted that Super Shenron isn't an issue because it's an oppressive best deck in format. And even if it is the best deck in format, it's totally okay for Wide Weenie Rush to be a competitive, viable deck. On a more casual level to semi-competitive, it's leading to poor player experiences, and that's where the issue is for me. At the end of the day, there's always going to be a best deck, and I think it would behoove people, and I'm going to steal Matt's thunder, is to stop trying to make DBS whatever TCG they've played before, and to appreciate Dragon Ball Super for Dragon Ball Super.
Yeah. Ian punched in that dick 18 times before 3 energy. That's I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Bless up.
But when you say it like that, you're taking away all my thunder. But seriously, there's things about the game that are unique. The combo system is unique. The ability to play a turn-based game or a curve-based game without summoning sickness is very, very unique. And I think those are things that DBS should continue to live by. I think we need to find more ways to disrupt the opponent, more so than...
This guy. God damn it.
Taking everything.
We need to find more ways to disrupt the opponent. That could include more interactive cards, though. Dusty O'Brien actually explained to me once very well, in that you don't need to have, it doesn't need to be a counterplay to be a disruptive card, and that's I think that's something that I would love to see more moving forward.
Yeah.
But honestly, in a lot of ways, the game's great. There's a lot of opportunities for variety. I think we really need to revisit what Wish is right now and what Wish needs to be in the future for the sake of the game. Like, if you think of Child's Wish and World Peace as, did 3 additional energy for the turn, gain 4 additional energy for the turn, why is SS3 banned? Why is Mecha Frieza ratted? In a lot of ways, those are very similar, and the fact that we're, we have that situation and we're viewing it very differently is kind of abstract to me. The game has the potential to be a top 3 game. I have no doubt in that whatsoever. And I think Bandai just needs a little more time to find their footing, and I love how their approach to situations is less resolved on a case-by-case basis. Let's use an errata when an errata is appropriate. Let's use a ban when a ban is appropriate. Let's use a limit to 1 when we believe a limit is appropriate. And I think with a little more time and finding the balance between listening to the community and listening to the right people in the community, usually it's the people that complain the most that are the loudest, and those people are going to complain about anything. And I think as long as we learn how to turn down the volume on those, and turn up the mic, and whatever glorious thing Matt is about to say, we'll be in a great place.
I don't really have anything too glorious to say, but so I think when you look at the game if you look at it from strictly the competitive standpoint, you have to understand, and it's a point that Zap already made, is that there's going to be a de facto best strategy, right? The thing that you have to look at and you have to pay attention to is when that de facto best strategy violates a key fundamental aspect of the Dragon Ball Super card game, which the Dragon Ball Super card game, if you've ever talked to any of the designers, right? If you ever spoke to them, you ever played a game against them, they have the time of their life when they're playing, do they not? They do, right? Exactly. What Super Shenron does, and if you follow the general trend of any other deck or any other card that's ever been hit before, if it creates an unfun experience for anyone that's playing the game, it is something that's going to be looked at and addressed. And you just have to, I hate saying have faith, but you do, because Bandai has proven it over and over again. They're going to do everything it takes to make this game as fun as possible, because to them, that's what Dragon Ball is. Dragon Ball is fun, it's fast, the fighting is fast. Like, that's why you have to embrace the mechanics of the game. If you don't, and you keep wishing it was something else, you were wishing that you could do something different, or you're wishing that you had certain cards from a certain game, you have to understand that Dragon Ball is its own thing, its own entity, and once you truly focus in on learning and developing the theory for Dragon Ball, as opposed to trying to lay another theory from another game on top of it, you're going to find yourself exploring these new ideas and new paths and new way to think about the game that's going to allow you to be able to succeed in any format. But of course, you always have to check yourself at the door with, what are my goals? If I walk into a tournament and I want to win, I have to play the strategy that's best available to me. Look at Daehan Hardesty. He played Janemba for the longest time, and he is such a great player and can play versatile decks that he knew his best chance of winning Dallas was switching to his version of Super Shenron, right? Like, you have to understand that. And so if you are not having fun at a tournament, you need to look at what your goals are. If your goal is to win, you need to play something that's going to give you the best chance to win. Because if you don't, and you play a deck that you hate because you just feel the pressure to do well, then you're going to have a really terrible experience. But if you walk into a tournament and you play a deck that you were having the time of your life with playing, and your goal is to have fun for that tournament, then you're going to accomplish your goal. So the Dragon Ball Super and how fun the card game is actually up to every single player that actually plays the game. And what Bandai does is they work as hard as possible to make sure the game can be fun for everybody. So keep that in mind as you're moving forward and you're thinking about these design changes and cards you want to see or cards you want to see banned. Like, at the end of the day, focus on having the most fun you can possibly have with this game, and Bandai will do what they can to help support you in doing that. And that's my stance. That's why I have a ton of fun whenever I get a chance to play the game right now, is because that's how I look at it. Like, that's how I feel about it. And, like, I build decks, like, now, I've been playing decks like Skillless, and, like, you should see me. I have a copy of it just on my counter, and all I do is go through my mulligans. Like, that's all I do. Like, I just go through my mulligans, and I go through my sequencing, and I keep trying to find the most optimal lines and the most optimal 1-0s that I can tech, but that's how I look at it. I don't look at it as, oh, Skillless is busted. I go, man, I really want to understand this deck, and I want to learn how to pilot, like, this thing the absolute best that anybody can. Like, so my goals have changed. So, I mean, that's my advice to anybody who wants to enjoy this game more right now in this current format. Do things like that.
To give another good example of what Matt's talking about, the most fun I have had with DBS since Nationals would be testing for set 6. You know, there's a lot of people that have had a theory that the designers test within a vacuum, meaning that when I'm designing set 3, I'm pitching the set 3 H stuff versus the set 3 GT Pan stuff, and I'm testing all those archetypes against each other, and that's what some people believe they do for balance. And when we were testing set 6, that happened to be what we did. We called dibs. Matt was all like, I'm going to check out Green Broly and I'm going to check out Red Frieza, and we'll see how good those decks are. And Pat was all about Blue Vaku and Yellow Gohan, and I was all like, Blue Dende is the best leader in the game. Let me break it. And when we tested those archetypes in and of themselves, almost the way that they were intended to be played, not only did we appreciate the set more from a competitive standpoint, but from a casual standpoint. We literally had a match of Frieza versus Green Broly.
Oh, God.
And I remember this.
Yeah, and it literally went to deck out. And we're sitting here playing about how watching this Broly get more pissed off and get bigger and bigger and bigger.
And then we're wailing on Frieza.
The set was so thematic.
Kill him.
The set was so great.
Mm-hmm.
And then, also, like, Green Broly versus Gogeta. The Green Broly deck just beats on you, and you're just like, man, I can't do anything. The second you fuse, bam! You just win. That's it. Broly can't do anything anymore, and you're just like, wow. How, like, it's accurate. It's so accurate.
You just rip your hand out and just put it in the trash can.
Yeah. So, like after it happened after that Green Broly match versus Red Frieza match, we're like, holy crap, the set is so well.
The set is literally the movie. Yeah.
It's so well designed that the cards actually are the movie. Like, the matchups are exactly how you would expect them to be in the movie.
It's just when you go out of the bubble and you combine the other cards, and if that is how Bandai approaches it, there's evidence that there's oversights there. But from a casual standpoint, it's so hard to give this game a hard time, especially looking at sets in and of themselves.
Yeah. Especially if you go to like locals, like the ones that I've been going to lately. Like, we have players that have been playing for like literally like 6 weeks, and like every week he'll just come and be like, check out this sweet Captain Ginyu deck I built. He just set one Captain Ginyu leader because he bought it in a bargain bin, just every Ginyu card imaginable, and he's just like, this is my deck, man. And like, he actually went like 2-2 with it, and he was just like, yeah, like this is like his like first tournament or whatever, and he's just like, yeah, I did it, man. So I was like, all right, well, I mean, at least people do whatever they want. I get people coming and just like, yeah, I built a Beerus deck with gods, like, and yeah, sure, that's not competitive, but like, the people don't care that play it. They're like, this is really fun. This is awesome. I mean, I'm guilty of doing that in set 3. I was like, well, it's obvious that Ginyu's the best leader in the game, but Zamasu is the best for like in terms of pure enjoyment factor like that I have with the game. It's just way more fun to just jam like a billion Goku Blacks on board and just kill somebody. Like, it's super sweet looking.
Yeah, I mean, this is a little bit off topic, but this plays into why, hands down, I think the best player in the Dragon Ball Super card game is Jose Mercado. The reason the reason why he's the best is because he has so much fun learning even while losing, and he'll play the same exact matchup over and over and over again. And he'll try and find every line, everything, and he does it all having the time of his life.
Yes.
Like, he is the embodiment of the way every player should try and approach this game from both a competitive and casual standpoint. Like, I wish I could have that, but me, nah, man. The amount of times I get top decked by somebody, I'm just always tilted. Always.
Yeah, that's why in that article that I wrote, that's what it was on 3xG like 2 weeks ago that everybody gave me flack for, like the perfect player fusion. That's why Jose was in there, because it was just like why wouldn't anybody want to be like Jose? Jose literally just approaches the game by just trying to have fun and get as good as possible, and everything is a learning experience for him, and he never stops learning.
And I've never literally heard him make a complaint about the format ever. It is always, there's a solution, I need to find it. I remember he's been obsessed with Baby for a while. I believe that it was the most well-rounded deck, but he couldn't beat Janima for the life of him. And I remember him sitting there for weeks on end. What if I play more conservatively? What if I play more aggressively? What if I mulligan like this? And he just refused to believe that the answer was outside of his control. And Matt phrased it perfectly when he said players would, benefit from having that same level of drive, focus, and intrinsic motivation.
Which is tables back to what we were saying earlier about Storm and Super Shan. There is an answer. You can find it if you're willing to look for it, but that's what I'm saying. At this point, I feel like the player base is exhausted. I'm not going to sit here and preach like, oh, just get good, because there is, that's like the worst thing that somebody can say to you. Like, there are answers to things, but if it's not fun, what's the point?
And I think that actually just leads me to think I need to get an interview with Mr. Mercado. But it just
you do. People need to listen to him more.
No, definitely will.
He's the best.
I mean, I think. Oh, sorry.
No, I was just gonna say my brother-in-law. He's been obsessed with building. Like he's built computers. He built a whole computer in a pretzel box over the winter break. And Jose is an engineer, so like one of my goals for the summer is to get my brother-in-law and Jose to spend like 2 days together, because I'm convinced that Jose can convince me to be an engineer in 48 hours or less. Because there's so much to say about him. But this isn't an interview about Jose.
We'll get to that. And in a moment, what I'm gonna have to do is tie this up to move on to the next part, because there's still like a fair amount of questions, and we're kind of nearing on like 20-25 minutes ish, and that, I mean, we expect that. I'm pretty sure everybody here expected that. But it's like listening to all of your points. See, this is wisdom about the format, and I'm just gonna come from an angle of just a hater. No, I love this game. I mean, you can see like there's random amounts of cards. I'm always building. I just got random things sitting around because whatever. But like, my thing is, I feel like something this game has done over and over again, like in cycles almost. They've invalidated like half of the card pool with like a single deck, and every time we think that deck is gone, it just like it comes back. Set 1 and 2, it was cool, but then set 3 you had Mecha, and everybody would talk about the speed of the format and how this card's too slow, and that card wasn't too slow necessarily. It was just a 4-drop, and Mecha was too fast. And then Mecha goes away, and we start getting into Storm, and Storm again, it warps the format to where you're looking at your cool my SPR Gohan from set 6. It's cool and all, but am I ever going to play it in a format where I could run the Super Shenron multiple times? And that, I feel like, hurts just a little bit, because it's Dragon Ball. You want to get in, you want to pick up your Freezes, your Brolys, your Bojacks, if you will. I'm not going to judge you for Bojack. Your Metal Rildos, I will judge you for Metal Rildo. But it's
not the general.
You're talking to the wrong person. Not the general.
If you want to have another
rule, Chris, this is over. This video is over.
Oh my gosh! If you want to have a discussion about GT, we'll have another discussion about GT.
Okay,
it's just
Chris. Chris, let me give you a counter argument. So, I haven't played the more recent sets of Yu-Gi-Oh! It seems like something kind of exposed to. How many archetypes would you say that a Yu-Gi-Oh! Set introduced? From what you remember playing.
Per set, or just
Yeah. In a box, how many different new archetypes did they introduce?
Generally,
I'm saying 3, 4, or 5.
3 to 4 with support for like 3 or so.
Okay. And then how many on average would you say ended up being competitive of those three?
Konami's kind
You
of
just like
stupid.
what?
Generally,
Probably
two
one?
of them. No, like
Two of them?
two of
Okay.
them. It's really bad. They'll try to push that box. They'll sell a couple secret rares from old support, so you had to buy the old sets but get the secret rares from the new sets, and then they try to push like a new R-Type or two.
Yeah.
And Konami's just stupid though. I haven't played that game in like 4 or 5 years because like
Okay,
the moment,
yeah.
when you can sit down at a table and lose the die roll and just do this while your opponent plays, and then they don't ban Cannon Soldier, and Cannon Soldier was at like the heart of 18 FTKs for no reason.
Yeah.
I was just like, this dude's been around since like 3rd grade. Like, why is he still? I can't. It hurts. It hurts too bad.
Right, right.
So, case back in the
Yeah.
day. Catapult
So-
Turtle.
Other boy. Yeah, so my point is when you look at a set of DBS, there is usually about 10 leaders introduced in a new set. You know, if a new set in Yu-Gi-Oh! Can introduce 2 new archetypes, that's awesome, and that makes the majority of the set look viable. If 2 competitive decks come from DBS, it's a failure because the way the game is designed, it gives the illusion that there should be 10 new decks to come from every set.
That is definitely fair.
Yes.
And I think that's a good example of Matt's point of taking ideals and stipulations from other games and applying them to DBS, and DBS looking worse because of it.
Yes.
I can get that. I guess from when I try to think from Bandai's standpoint, it confuses me how many times they've released excellent, cool, functional 4 drops, 5 drops, 6 drops, and then within the same sets have made cards that completely made them unplayable unless they had EX Evolve or a previous card cheated them out via like some sort of mechanic. And that part is just always weird to me because it's like they have to test their own things. And even some of the cards that you test within a set, like set 6 was really, really, really well rounded. But if Broly didn't brick, like Green Broly, if it didn't brick, it was putting on pressure in the first 2 to 3 turns that kind of got hard for other decks to like actually handle in general. And I just don't really know how they.
Except for the fact that Broly was an auto lose against Gogeta.
Oh yeah. Yes.
So I mean, so it's like it's you have to understand that like so when Bandai designs a set, they're not just like they're not only looking at the game from a competitive standpoint. Like for them, it is about feel. It is about flavor. It is about getting the characters in the game. Like that, they are a game that's meant to have and highlight every character within the Dragon Ball universe.
Yes.
So it's like you have to understand that. Like that's the nature of the beast. That's why you have those 1-drop full art cards. Like that's why you have all those things, is because they want to highlight those characters. And you know, if you like open up your box and you think that there's only a certain number of archetypes that are playable, like to me it's like, well, what do you expect, man? Like do you really expect every single leader that you ever open to be like competitive? No, it's not possible. Like it's just not. So like I'm sorry, unfortunately Gohan, who knows, maybe he will be competitive one day.
No, he won't be. He won't be. I'm just really salty.
I know, I love Gohan, but like Zap's point was it was a really good point about, you know, tying it back to making sure you're not comparing. But I agree with you that like it's unfortunate to like look at cards that are like really cool, like 4s and 5s, and right now they're virtually unplayable because the speed of the format. But I mean, that again, it's just there's only so many things that you can do as a player, and that's why I talked about before about how Bandai pays attention. They know everything. Their ears to the ground. They listen to the community as much as possible. You know, you can almost be certain that they're having conversations about the fact that Super Shenron just won another event, and the fact that on camera, I made this comment when I was watching the stream. I was like, this is just not fun to watch. This is not what I want to be representing my game, where one opponent sits with his hands folded and just tries to defend himself, you know, on turns that his opponent gets to take back to back. Like that's not what you want to see.
Yeah, Super Shenron is just a design no-no. I feel like anybody who has followed Magic at any point in their life knows that the most powerful thing you can do is take an extra turn after this one.
Yeah. Your opponent doesn't have a chance to untap. They don't have a chance to
most of those cards are banned, and if they're not banned in the most competitive formats, they are the best strategy or close to it.
But the taking the extra turn isn't the thing that kills you. It's the producing infinite energy at will.
Yes.
That is what kills you.
Saying,
it's the amount of actions taken.
That's what it is. Infinite turns just gives you infinite resources. That's why turns is so good in other formats for other games. It's just because taking an extra turn usually just means here's a bunch of free resources, and like you just get so far ahead that that's it. It's the game's over. Because what you can do with extra resources at like high levels, players are going to just maximize the amount of resources. You give them 3 energy, they'll find a way to kill you. If you basically take an extra turn, that's like doubling it to 6. So it's like you have an even easier window to kill somebody with.
So we've gone down a dark corridor now into deep, ancient card stock terror. And so I'm going to bottleneck this and move it on to a part 2 real quick. Give everybody a break to, you know, stretch their legs, do these things. And then we'll have a couple of other questions and a couple of other things I'd like to pick their brains about. But in the meantime, thank you guys for watching this. Remember to like, comment, subscribe. We're definitely going to talk about a couple more things next time. I'm going to have a link to all of their juicy tidbits of information down in the description. Low-key, still salty. Make this dude playable, please. 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 But otherwise, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next time.